All right. Like 3, 2. All right, it's looking good. 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Greetings and salutations. I'm Moonthal Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and you are listening to the delayed Eldritch God. Afraid we weren't on last night because reasons and things. I am joined. Wait, I forgot. Tonight we dare to ask that question. How many sinkholes does it take to destroy a bank? Only in Florida will the answer be known. The answer to this question and many more by our panel of experts, including, I keep wanting to call you Boba Fett, but it's Fett Bob 92, Kekis Danny, and Mr. Gurr. No real silly titles tonight because it's kind of a meh week overall, so I'm not really feeling it. I don't know about anybody else, but you know, it's better than last week, which was just incredibly depressing. So I'll take meh over bullet to the head any day. Any rate, let's see a couple of the main topics here. We'll just go over some of the ones that have been done to death by everybody else. We have the tranny ban from I think last week that I don't think we covered because we came in. It just started about the time when we did our last stream. And you know what? In my opinion, and I think it's pretty conductive, it's the armed forces. It shouldn't be run like, you know, I don't know if people know this, but one of the reasons why, what is it? The Kurds. People know about the Kurds over in the Middle East. They keep getting their butts handed to them. It's because they run their army like a collective, like it's all socialist run. And their army sucks. Well, you shouldn't run an army like it's socialist. Whoever's not using headphones, please do so because we can hear you typing.
Oh, I'll turn down my mic. Sorry about that.
All right, got that. So if the army says, the generals say, and when it hasn't even been finalized yet, he was just talking about it. I believe last I checked, the generals are going, we'll have a formal policy out about this at some point. But if the generals say, you know, we don't need red-haired people because, you know, they don't have souls, as long as you've got actual proof that they will keep more soldiers alive, go for it, because I think life is a priority here. Any questions on this real quick?
I mean, I understand that. I think that the dysphoria part's a good argument, but that's pretty much parroting what you said.
You know, whatever's in the best interest of the people whose lives are in the line, in my opinions. Outside of a life-threatening situation, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it should be a factor. But in a life-threatening situation, whatever saves the most lives. I admit, I'm a utilitarian. Yep. So, however, when it comes to very small groups, I can be persuaded for the whole, you know, greater good argument. But only in small groups because I believe in the Dunbar empathy limit. At any rate.
Yeah, I thought at first that the blanket ban was kind of heavy-handed because, well, generally they do go through rigorous tests anyway, both physically and mentally. But then I realised that, well, even those tests cost money as well.
Yeah, I think it's important here to keep an eye on what the bottom line is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I couldn't get into the army because I'm asthmatic, and so I wouldn't even get a test. They'd just see that from a doctor and say, nope, you're not coming in.
Yeah, I mean, if they can rule, heck, I think they ruled me out because of my feet. Long time ago, I applied to go into the army because I thought, hey, I could really use the money to go through college. And they said, nope, you've got bad feet. What the hell? But this was before 9/11, folks. Like, after 9/11, they called me up and said, hey, by the way, just wanted to say, your feet's not that bad. Oh, I'm sorry, but since the Twin Towers fell, I got another job. But thank you very much. I appreciate your interest in this matter.
Yeah, I think it was about 2000, either 2000, 2001. I applied for the Fire and Rescue Service, and yeah, I filled in the application form and then got to it where it said, if you have like asthma or any sort of chronic bronchitis, then you can't join. I thought, oh well, fuck.
Yeah, they used to be pretty stringent about that, and they've gotten a lot less, stringent in recent years. But I think that's to the detriment. No, I mean, I'm sorry. Lives are on the line here, and I accept wholeheartedly. Would have liked to have gone in.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there has to be a line drawn somewhere.
Yeah, and I was under it, so I did my good for society in different ways. That's neither here.
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to add though is that it does possibly create a don't ask, don't tell situation, but that's about it.
Yeah,
I just want to add that.
That's true. I mean, that's the downside, but it's again.
Oh.
I believe life-threatening situations are different than non-life. Speaking of life-threatening situations, I want to go over this real quickly. So basically, we've started the Cold War again. I don't know if anybody missed that. I like the fact that, President Trump said, I'm signing this. I don't really support it, but I'm signing it anyways because the fact of the matter is it got voted in way beyond the 2/3 majority. So even if he vetoed it, it was going to get passed anyways. So at least by signing it, he gets to say, I'm signing it. I think this sucks, but I'm signing it. But now, Russia's gone and seized a bunch of American property over in Russia. So I don't know. I don't really see the point of this. We interfere in their elections. They interfere in ours. They didn't succeed. We don't succeed in theirs. And what is interference anyways is my big question. Like, if it's the equivalent of investigative journalism and you're not lying, then I don't have a problem with it. Like, as long as everything being said is true, you're just revealing uncomfortable truths, go for it. Because we should know the truth, no matter what. I don't care how I find out the truth as long as it's true. Of course, the question is, were they revealing truths? But, this is it, by the way. The WikiLeaks confirms Seth, what's his name? The guy who got killed, the intern, he actually was the leak from the DNC. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Investigative reporter got the information, broke the news story, and then WikiLeaks came out and said, yeah, I know we weren't saying he did it, but we weren't saying who did it. But yeah, now that you've confirmed it, yeah, totally. Seth, the intern, the guy who got killed, is definitely the guy who leaked us the information. And I love how the Democrats are going, how can we trust WikiLeaks to tell us who leaked them the information? It's like, well, they're the ones who were leaked the information. You would think that an organization that prides itself on revealing the truth could be trusted to tell who told them the truth. But I don't know. But any thoughts on this?
That's...
Yeah, I don't know much about it, so...
I'll
speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious to me that the Russians did try to, from what I've heard from, I like to hang out with a lot of people who do bootleg stuff and crack programs. So the best crackers are all Russian. No, hands down, those guys, they are the best program hackers. And talking with those guys, they're along the lines of, oh no, yeah, I'm certain that Putin interfered in your election. Or Hillary, he knew which way the wind was blowing. The rest of us were all terrified of her. We believed she was going to plunge us into World War III and get us all killed. They were terrified of Hillary. The rank and file hackers hated her. They hated her. But Putin, yeah, there was an attempted hack on the RNC. It just failed. So did the Russians interfere? I'm pretty sure they tried. They just screwed it up. And why are we doing the sanctions again? I mean, at this, if you want to say we're doing the sanctions because of whatever's happening in the Ukraine, okay, that's another story. But don't do it over this. Like, this is invading a country. We can't have that. Attempting and failing to hack a server. Oh, sanction time. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've got some screwed up priorities, man. You've got some screwed up priorities. Anyway,
yeah, but that...
go ahead.
I would say that's kind of American government, though. We never had our greatest priorities, but sorry.
No problem. Those are, I think, were the big main topics this week so far. I mean, we've had a lot of BS stuff, but I don't think anything is important. Oh, they convened a grand jury that means absolutely nothing. All right, whatever. So, shall we get to some of the live stream topics?
Oh, yes.
Any votes on which one to start with?
I know we talked about the Florida sinkhole.
Yeah, I'm for that one.
It swallowed some money.
Dog about throwing your money down the hole. Bank collapse around Florida sinkhole that also swallowed homes. Land O'Lakes, Florida, the same name as after the butter. Officials in Florida say that the bank surrounding a sinkhole that swallowed up 2 homes last month has unexpectedly collapsed. Now, originally when I read this, I thought it was, a bank where you put your money, but it's actually apparently the kind of banks that you have like on a river.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, that's better. But they were trying to shore it up, and then he said, oops, the whole thing just imploded along with 2 homes all at once. Fortunately, they had already moved away, and the 3 other nearby homes also moved out. But still, the sinkhole is pushing record for Florida. I believe it's 72 meters wide and 50 feet deep. It's just continues to grow. So this one looks like it might be one for the record books. We'll have to see whether or not it keeps going. Unfortunately, I believe we're getting to the rainy season, so it's still got a long way to go.
Yes,
Florida man versus nature.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is about. Well, I mean, you build on a sandbar, what do you expect? But you think they would have, I don't know, poked the ground with a stick or something?
At the very least.
They're putting up their clotheslines out there and just why is it every 3 months our clothesline disappears? It's because you're living next to a sinkhole, but yeah.
I don't know. Florida. Let's go with a little more Florida here. We got the Florida woman.
Oh, Chick-fil-A, that one?
Oh, yeah. Florida woman trashed Chick-fil-A during an argument over order. I love these. These stories here because this is just so American. 2 women, not just one, 2 women trashed a Florida Chick-fil-A in Jacksonville during an argument over an order. And apparently they filmed it, put it online. I tried to find it, but I couldn't. And that, as the store was closing, these 2 women tried to get in, and they were arguing with the employees, and then I think somehow they got inside and started tossing condiments on the floor and just throwing objects around, and apparently caused over $900 in damage. And the few couples that were still in there had children who were cowering in fear as these 2 women went around and trashed the place.
Keep it classy, Florida woman.
Now, the thing that gets me here is why haven't these 2 women been bounced into jail so hard that they ricochet around inside the cells? I mean, they just agreed to pay the damages and that's it.
Because we gotta protect the women folk.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big thing that I go off on every once in a while. If you want to know who's the oppressor, it's whoever you're not allowed to make jokes about. And if you want to know
female privilege, yo.
And if you want to know who's being oppressed, it's the one not allowed to be angry. If this was 2 men trashing the place in the exact same way, they'd be in jail.
Immediately.
Oh, one would be dead by the cops.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, these women, it's it's just, what damage could they really do? They could kill somebody.
No, they couldn't. Women are fragile, great, majestic creatures.
They're delicate flowers.
Like eagles. 900-pound eagles who eat a Chick-fil-A, apparently.
They wouldn't hurt us.
I wonder if those kids are going to be able to go back to Chick-fil-A ever in the future.
Oh, I hope there's a lawsuit on Chick-fil-A. My children were traumatized at your inability to maintain order inside this I thought you were a Christian organization. I shop you because you don't support abortion. That's why I eat here. And then you letting these women folk toss around their condiments. My child is petrified of eating a Chick-fil-A now. He's got a complex. I demands the money.
My child now cries every time we serve chicken at home.
Do you know how cheap chicken is? And now I can't afford to feed it to my child here. Look at my child. She's wasting away. She's 4'3" and 137 pounds. Skin
Wasn't
and
the
bone.
child male 5 seconds ago?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Transgender. Damn skews.
Well, why do you think they call it trans fat? You have enough trans fat, you change gender. That's what happened. Okay.
That's how Florida man pays for his shenanigans,
Yes.
suing businesses.
Oh yeah, Florida man. I'm working on the Florida man script, by the way. Mr. Gurr, I need you to be the what do I call it? Interpol investigator, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm trying to scrape together the money to make the costume. I almost have enough for starting it, but I still need your measurements, Bob.
Oh, okay. I will have to get that to you. I will have to. Oh, well, I believe earlier we were talking about how Michael Moore has lost his marbles, so shall we move on to Michael Moore?
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
This is now my new favorite quote. Michael Moore on Brexit. Enjoy your miserable life on your island.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he slammed Brexit and told the Britons, enjoy your miserable life. The director and commentator compared the UK with the United States and said both countries were competing to see which would be the first to ditch negative political ideologies. I have no idea what that means other than it sounds like he's pouting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems convinced that he thinks Britain will shift away from Brexit and stuff. When the facts of the matter is, Jeremy Corbyn, our favorite server at Jihadi Fried Chicken. I don't know. This
Comrade Corbyn.
Yeah, Comrade Corbyn. My God, it's just what happened to Mr. Moore? Like a long time ago, he made some actually documentaries designed to help people. Like he was a common guy, and then somewhere along the lines, he got ludicrously rich. I think became incredibly guilty about it, and now he's like trying to suicide and take everybody with him. I mean, that's just me. Any thoughts on the guy?
Well, kind of like I was saying before the stream, I'm from kind of a very rural area, so his Fahrenheit 9/11 wasn't taken very well from where I'm from, but yeah, he's definitely gone downhill, and he's become more like when he goes way out there, way outlandish. It isn't even entertaining. It's really kind of depressing and sad. Like, I made a comparison between him and, say, like, Alex Jones, where Alex Jones goes out there, but it's at least entertaining and energetic, and you can make a good meme video out of it. It's just kind of depressing and bitter with Michael Moore. He seems to be trying to just kind of poison and put venom into everyone he talks to that he disagrees with.
You know, I never caught Fahrenheit 9/11. What was the basic gist of that?
I think it's supposed to be an expose about 9/11. I can't remember. I never ended up seeing it, I think.
Yeah, all that 9/11 conspiracy stuff. You know, I understand why there's the conspiracy, because I would prefer the conspiracy. Because the alternative to the conspiracy is we're just freaking incompetent. You know, if you have a super competent government that has like men everywhere and they control everything and there's chemtrails and all this other crap, you know what you got going for you? At least there's somebody in charge. You know, I would rather have somebody in charge, someone to blame, other than, we're all just kind of lazy, and the reason why society's going downhill is because we're just kind of letting it slide downhill. Nobody's trying to drive society in the ground. We're just all kind of lazy about it. Which scares me more than the idea of there's this grand conspiracy, and if we just punch the right face, humanity will rise back up to the top because it's being held down. I don't think humanity's being held down. I think that we're just not trying to go up. That's just me.
I think you've explained feminism in a nutshell, though. I think that's kind of why they won't face the fact that you have to have an oppressor for your problems. It's not your own fault. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you admit it's your fault, you actually have to fucking do something about it.
But then you can't be lazy and eat Cheetos.
Yeah, it's not about empowering women. It's just about keeping men down so
They
can
look
catch
like
up.
they're better.
Yeah, that one feminist I was trying to get on the program, she never got back to me. She briefly said, "I never got your invitation." I said, "Oh, well, here it is again." And then I never heard. But I think it was because I gave her like a 3-page detailed response to her video where line by line I went, no, this is, okay, if feminism is about equality, then you need to bring men up when they're below women. Since you focus only on women, you don't have no focus on men, you can only raise women up, but when men are below women, you leave them down there. And then when men try to organize to bring men up, you claim patriarchy. You can't have it both ways. If we're supposed to separate out into our own individual groups to look out for ourselves, then you can't complain when there's a group that looks out for themselves, which is, like I said, if you listen to our argument, I say, so you support white supremacists. And it's like, no, I support feminism and Black Lives Matter. Yes, but you're saying those are subsets of egalitarianism, which means all subsets that follow a single group should be, supported, which means you support, white supremacists. Did not like that question.
No, I agree, though. Yeah, if you want equality, you need to have both hands on both sides of the scale.
Yeah, that's kind of why I support egalitarianism, but to be honest, I don't really know what the solution is anymore. I think, Mr. Gurr, you brought it up earlier about Japan and the herbivore male syndrome.
Yeah.
These guys are amazing. It's amazing what a lot of repressed sex desire does. Like the whole like holographic waifu. Have you seen this thing? That is creepy. It can call you and it says nice things and it says you're not home yet. Oh, hold on one second. I got a call. Talk amongst yourself.
I bet it's from his wife.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the wife.
She missed saying,
"You're not home.
I love you.
Sorry,
I miss you."
But no, it's creepy. It's like got all these program responses, and it's like you're sitting there, and it's in this little holographic tank, so it can like dance and wave its hand and have like sparkles shoot out of its ass and shit. It's like, what the hell is this thing?
Now I want one.
Yeah, but if you're like a guy who's like going, nope, can't go out with a woman because they're just going to destroy me. And when you look at the stats in Japan, you get married to the wrong woman, she will destroy you. I mean, my God, they have the feet on their subway floors where men have to keep their feet so that they don't accidentally man spread.
Oh my God.
And the thing is that when you know the physics behind it, the simple fact is that chairs are made for women and not for men. And that extra 2 inches of height hurts.
I don't think it's just about manspreading though, because especially in like the busiest places like Tokyo, there's a lot of sexual harassment that happens on the tube and trains, like just ass grabbing and shit like that.
Oh yeah, they have
a lot.
Somebody was talking to me about, like I said, how weird can Japan be? And apparently somebody sent me like a series of links to fantasies where basically like they have sex on packed trains. Like this is a thing.
Oh yeah, it's that Rule 36, is it?
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's lots of porn about that, where women are just groped and fingered and fucked on trains.
I'm just like, what?
On busy pack trains, and everyone else is just like pretending not to notice.
Like, what?
Obviously, all staged. I'd hope.
I hope, but still, what is? I don't know.
It's
Every
cringy.
yeah, Japan scares the crap out of me.
I'm not sure if this is what humanity has degraded into, or if it's just the Japanese.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either, but they do have like among the lowest replacement rate. They're like 1.2%, and 1.2 for every 2 people there. Like, they're hemorrhaging population. And part of me wonders if the reason why they have so much weird deviant sex is just because they have such a repressed population. Like, if everybody was getting laid, I wonder if it'd all go away.
I think so, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are actually, like, into that shit regardless.
Yeah. There's some pretty fucked up fetishes out here, too.
Oh god, don't I know.
But Japan's more expressive about it, I think.
Well, speaking of burning your home down, homeowner tries to burn a nest of bees and sets his home ablaze. This one was Fayetteville, Georgia. A man trying to burn the bees out of a nest backfired after the ill-advised extermination method caught fire to his Georgian home, destroying most of it. So, I don't even know how this took place. I would love to have pictures or diagrams or something, but if there's something near your home, you probably shouldn't try setting it on fire. But what I have in my head is that he set these bees on fire, maybe like dumped a lot of gasoline down there and just threw in a match, and there was a big woof. And then there was a bunch of bees that say, okay, if I'm going out, I'm taking you with me, and just flaming bees pelting into his house.
What
are you doing?
Oh,
You
God.
take out our home, we take out your home. You take out our nest, we take out your nest. It's
Oh no, not the bees!
kamikaze Japanese bees.
Georgia, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Georgia, real close to Florida.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, and I oddly enough, as a side note, this Fayetteville area is right outside of Atlanta, which is basically the second largest bill collector capital of the United States. Buffalo comes first, but you didn't know that.
Huh.
Yeah, if you want to be a bill collector, it's either Buffalo or Atlanta, and I'd recommend Atlanta because Buffalo is hell. Every once in a while, an entire iceberg just pulverizes and lands on the city. I have seen 8 feet in 2 days. It is bizarre. Okay, so unless you love the idea of 1,000 feet of snow on top of your house, I highly recommend Atlanta. Oh, of course, with global warming, it'll probably become the Miami of the North real soon, as everything below the Mason-Dixon bursts into flames. But But it won't affect Florida, man. I know that. Any thoughts on our bee burner?
Are the bees dead? Did it work?
Wouldn't that be funny if, like, he only got part of the hive? And, like,
Just the one part of his house left is the part with the nest.
Yeah.
and then he's like sitting there, and it's like, and then he comes back 2 days later after all the hoes, and he's like, and then it's like it's in the ground. It's a hive in the ground. It's underground, and then this like one bee comes out, goes bzzz, just lazily flies away.
Just lands in the house, and the rest of it collapses. It's depressing.
Yeah, or it's like, or they're Mexican bees. They're Mexican killer bees. They came with knives. Hey, Chico, it's a nice house you got here. It'd be a pity something happened.
You're looking at my girlfriend, Essie?
You're looking at my girlfriend? I got one sting and I die when I use it, but I'm not afraid to sting you.
Oh, you stung, bitch.
That's not true about all bees, by the way, as I learned yesterday. I have an underground bee hive in my backyard, and I discovered it by driving over it with a lawnmower. Whereupon they swarmed my ankles and stung me 3 times. Ouch. It was painful. So, but apparently, nope, no stingers, but they did manage to do a number on me. So I can't even imagine what those Mexican killer bees would do. Oh, well, should we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's move up to New Holland, Pennsylvania, where a Pennsylvanian man ranted that there weren't enough cucumbers on his Wendy's salad before he threw his food at an employee and made a threat. At which point the police were called, and then he was taken off to jail. Mr. Theodore Gunderson Jr., 58-year-old man. This just goes to prove my point. That's why I brought up both these articles. We have a man who's flipping out in a Wendy's, throwing some food and saying, if I had a gun or a knife, you'd be the first to go. You know what? That's somebody spouting his head off and having a bad day. I for one, don't for one instant think this guy's going to kill everybody. Still, you're making death threats. I can understand why the cops were called. I want to know what the transcript was of those two women. Not one guy, two women crashing a place. See, this is one guy who just threw a salad because I don't have enough cucumbers. All right. Those are two women who are like, I'm coming in even though you're closed, and if you're going to give me hassle, I'm going to destroy your place. Cause 900.
But he's a man. Even the fact that he was there was making him a danger.
Oh, yes. His very presence makes him a danger. Men are so dangerous.
His toxic masculinity. Well, I mean, yeah. I think you're right, though. I think it was definitely the icing on his cake, or rather the cucumber on his salad, that really made him just lose it. But it would be interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no difference. They're probably very comparable. Very, very comparable. So at least this guy paid for his food and ate some of it. You know what I mean? Like,
I have to go with Randy Raccoon on this one in the chat. The honey puts out the fire, and all the bees left are super bad and super pissed. Trigger bees.
Sitting at the hive with a pair of binoculars, waiting for him to come back.
Well. Oh,
take the go.
By the way, this was something that I forgot to mention. I don't know if people do follow Trump, but finally somebody said some good news about him, which I think they didn't have any choice about. But 6 months into his presidency, the unemployment rate has fallen remarkably low, including the underemployed rate, which is at almost 9%, has dropped. Under Obama, it was double digits. So he keeps adding jobs. He keeps adding to the stock market. I mean, I don't know if you can blame the president or claim the president helped the stock market, but whatever's going on, past 6 months, he's been doing great as far as the economy's been going. He's been giving it a real kick in the pants.
Well, wasn't that one of his promises?
Well, yeah, I gotta say that. I like the fact that he's actually, coming forth with, we're gonna have so much win, you're gonna get sick of winning. Well, I haven't gotten sick of winning yet, so you got a lot of work to do, but this is a step in the right direction. Thoughts?
But even if this continues as a trend for the next 7 years, you'd know that he'll still finish with the lowest approval rating.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure about that. Well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, he's got 8 years, and a lot can change in 8 years. And I think when some of these mainstream media outlets start going belly up, because you heard about Salon, right? Everybody hear about Salon?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll fill you in on this one. I don't have it in the list there, but I'll tell you about what I know about it. Salon is basically social justice warrior online bullshit. However, because they had to be all prestige and stuff, they got a really expensive address in New York City, and now they can't afford it.
Yeah, the SJW news site, right?
Yeah, the SJW news site. They may be going...
They're the ones that published the articles about that pedophile, saying that he's not a monster and all that. And then the day before they published the hit piece on Milo Yiannopoulos, they took that article down.
Ah, yes, because pedophiles are great people. Except, when they're not actually a pedophile and they just disagree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't understand that. I can't wrap my mind around how you could support pedophilia in any way, shape, or form, regardless of your political affiliations. I mean, how twisted do you have to be?
Yeah, it's just fucking disgusting. I don't care if you're a liberal, a conservative, an anarchist, a statist. You're a disgusting human being if you support pedophilia.
Well, it's a combination that goes back as someone who used to argue in favor of, I guess you call it marriage equality, whatever. People would always say, what about pedophiles? Pedophiles end up getting it. And you say, well, no, there's a difference between adults who can consent, whether it's legally or just from a rational standpoint, and children who don't understand what sex is, let alone understand making those decisions. It's the same as bestiality, except for children are, a little bit more aware.
Yeah. If having sex with a woman who's drunk is rape, then having sex with a child, I know it's even worse than that, but they want to argue the whole thing about if a person is drunk and they can't give rational consent, then how can they argue that a child can?
I'm all for that argument if men fall under the same argument, because then you need to charge her with rape too.
Well, of course they're not gonna charge her with raping. She's probably drunk too, and so despite him being drunk, he is going to be charged with rape.
When I was at university, I had quite an argument with my RA about that, because men had to attend a little seminar for that, and I was like, no, if she's drunk and I'm drunk, it's both rape, it's mutual rape, so we're each suing each other, and it's going to be dropped because it's ridiculous. And there's like, no, it's rape because she's drunk. I'm like, if I'm drunk too, then it counts. And we couldn't reach an impasse, so I just walked out and said, screw it. And,
Well, women are just so innocent. When they're drunk, they can't control themselves. And that's completely fine. But when men get drunk and they can't control themselves, it's all their fault.
Yeah, then it's toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
I don't know. I just want consistency. Actually, you know what? I did finally get back on Stefan Molyneux, and we had a long talk, and he did have some interesting points of some stuff I missed out about I don't know if you guys saw my last video on the cause of racism.
Did it get published or anything?
I don't know. I think it's... Sorry about that. I think he's just going to put it on his what do you call it, podcast, not actually on his video channel. So,
right.
But he had some really good points there that I was more talking about what causes the false impression of racism, and I didn't tackle actual racism. And he came up with a great quote that I'm going to totally steal, which is the separation of race and state, which I think we should also have the separation of gender and state, which means we find every single law that favors one race or gender over another, plus or minus, and it gets scrubbed. Just not allowed. You're not allowed to have anything that favors a race or a gender over anything else. And it needs to be made and amended. I would love to see it as an amendment, as an actual Bill of Rights. Like we have the separation of church and state. We need the separation. Because at this point, gender and race have practically become a religion.
Yeah, people fucking worship blacks and trannies at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you essentially end up... That's a good idea, though, like a demographic secularism. That's brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I think he just said it like off the cuff, and I'm like, that was a brilliant quote, sir, and I am totally stealing it and going to run with it for quite a while. I need to do a follow-up video about some of the points he made, because I talked about the false impression of false racism, but I didn't actually define real racism, which really is, when you think about it, it's just an excuse. Racism is, actual racism is deliberate, and the racism itself is the excuse, just to do what you want, which is power. It's all about getting power. So if you're, again, who's allowed to be laughed at and who is not allowed to be angry. And then you can figure out who's got the problem and who doesn't. But at any rate, just a little digression there.
Oh, back to the Trump thing. One thing, though, and this is something I remember, I don't know if you guys care for Jesse Ventura at all, but one thing he said, and it's a very, very good point about economic policies of a president when they show. Some people would argue that it typically takes about 3 to 5 years to see economic policies follow through. So some people might be attributing the better climate to Obama. However, at the same time, especially with things like housing markets and stocks, that's more of instantaneous. And I think that's a lot of just confidence in the president. That might be attributed to Trump. I wanted to go back to that real quick, sorry.
It could be, yeah.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I don't think any of his policies actually changed anything. But if you look at it, immigration here into the America, illegal immigration is dropped by like 4/5 when he hasn't done anything. And the economy is starting to go up when he really hasn't done anything. He has been stopped time and time again. The only thing that he's had going for him is that he has got bluff and bluster and he's loud as hell. You know, just by saying I'm going to do something, the illegal immigrants like stop because they're like, oh, Trump's going to stop us. No, apparently he can't actually change any policies or do anything or get anything done because he stopped at every turn. But it doesn't matter because he still dropped, you know, just getting him elected dropped illegal immigration by 4/5.
Mm-hmm.
That a number alone tells me whatever was going on we weren't helpless. We weren't powerless to fix it. Just having the president saying, quit it. Just quit it. Just getting really stern and waggling his finger in a disapproving fashion. That's all it took. Like, oh yeah, companies, don't move your jobs overseas. Keep them here. Who'd have thunk that would work? I mean, seriously, it's crazy. All he is picking up the phone and talking to people and saying, I'm Trump, I'm the president. Don't send the jobs overseas and keep them here. And then, like, 2 car companies say, okay, we're going to build factories in America now and hire 4,000 people. All right, thanks, Trump. It's like, what the heck? Is that all you have to do is just pick up the phone and make some phone calls? Crazy. Like, but yeah, that's the American legal system. Apparently, if you just don't care about what everybody says you can and cannot do, you can get some serious shit done. So,
I think Randy Raccoon actually has a point as having the balls. We haven't really had a leader in a long time that's been, I guess you could say, had a leader persona.
This is true.
Yeah.
I think the last time we had one was Ronald Reagan, and he was anybody who walks out on the stage and says, well, I just passed a law that outlaws Russia. We'll be launching the missiles in about 10 minutes here. And everybody starts laughing because they think it's a joke. And then Russia goes to like freaking DEFCON 1000. I mean, and they're like, whoop, whoop. Bombers are launched into the air. And he's like, I'm just kidding. But you want to know something? Like Ronald Reagan and Trump both have that in common where they sometimes shut their mouth off. Everybody freaks out, but then nothing comes of it. And in the end, it like actually worked. So I don't know. I'm willing to give him some leeway on this.
Yeah, I liked a joke that Ronald Reagan made back when he was in presidency. And it was basically about how the USSR was back then, with it being socialist and that. And he said, all the cars that are made over there, they're built to order. So, like, you pay for the car, and then it's made and it's delivered to you. But some guy at the showroom orders a car, and the man says, "Well, it's going to take like 10 years." It's okay. And then the customer says, "Can I have it delivered in the afternoon?" Says, well, it's going to be in 10 years' time. What difference does it make? Says, well, I've got the plumber coming round.
Okay. I never heard that one. That was awesome.
That was good.
But what Fetbub said earlier about how things are affected like slowly over time and what could be certain, probably down to Obama, is a similar thing as what went on with the New York crime back when Rudy Giuliani was mayor. Even though he put a lot of things in place that and the crime went down a lot while he was in office, but apparently a lot of the things that the guy, whoever it was before him, basically put in the groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I've got to admit, his no broken windows policy, I think, was brilliant. It worked. You know, and I find it sad that we've stopped doing that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of problems in a lot of American cities could be stopped if we had just, you know, headed things off when the windows got broken.
And I think that was the last time I ever saw any sort of positive remarks in a Marvel comic back then as well. I think it was 2003. I can't remember which graphic novel it was, but Punisher wanted to warm up before he went on his big mission. So he said, "I'll go around. What's it called? The park.
Grand Central? Not Grand Central Park.
Yeah, Central Park." And it showed him walking around for an hour and nothing, no criminals around for him to beat him at all. And he says, "Thanks a lot, Rudy."
Well, shall we move on to everybody's favorite topic, Kekezuela?
Yep.
By the way, I have not heard anything new on our helicopter grenade tossing soap opera man. Last I heard, he had showed up at a rally and then just rode off on the back of a motorcycle. So I hope we wish him well. I
hope
look
he's
forward
still
to hearing
alive.
more about him. But they had their vote down there for establishing a new, I forget exactly what it's called.
Bill of Rights or something.
Constitutional Assembly, basically a kind of stopgap legislation branch where
which
apparently
will last for a long time.
3.6 million people cast over 8 million votes.
And I presume it was a landslide.
It was a landslide, yes, and now everybody says we
was.
want Maduro all the way for El Presidente for life. You know, I remember when I was playing Tropico, which was this game where you've got an island with all these people on it, and the only thing that the communists were good for were getting free tenement buildings, and then you immediately Dutched them and went capitalist. Because if you went with the communists, you're inevitably your entire island turned into a ecological hellhole. But if you went capitalist, then all the tourists came and you could like run your entire island off of tourism. You know, and of course you still eventually had to have a military state, but that was because the game didn't like it when you lived for 125 years. I always played for the long game, and apparently you don't die of old age in that game. But I think in this game, this guy needs to die of old age. Like, by Thursday would be nice. Perhaps by tying himself in a chair, shooting himself in the back of the head 3 times, drinking a bottle of poison, and jumping down an elevator shaft. Suicide.
In that order.
Yes.
Natural causes, obviously.
Because, God, I mean, he goes off and he arrests the 2 opposition leaders, one of which got released, but more than 120 people have died in the past 4 months. And we've got people running around who are well-educated people hunting dogs in the street for food. Like that I find disturbing.
Well, that's the thing that just upsets me about the conversation about communism is a lot of people don't understand, one, as you know, brought up to the opposition, how totalitarian you have to have it be in order to make communism seem like it's working. And then 2, how it devalues any skill, merit, or effort. You know.
However, they do have the most egalitarian and equal pay scale ever, apparently. They are number 1 when it comes to equality of income. You know, they have the scale of income disparity. Like they rate which countries make too much money for rich people and too little money for poor people. Well, in Venezuela, they are number 1. They have gotten it down to where everybody makes about the same amount of money, which is nothing.
No.
Nothing. They have 300% interest inflation in the past 4 months. In one weekend, it went from like, I think it was like 8,600 bolivars to $1 American dollar to like over 10,000 bolivars by Monday. Like between Friday to Monday, it went up almost 2,000 Bolvadars in inflation in one weekend. Like, you work your whole life, you run this business, and what happens? Your money's worthless. You might as well not save. They're trying to inflate themselves out of their debt by making the debt high, but nobody's going to take the Bolivadar for payment. So
they're still using Bitcoin then?
Oh yeah, they're still using rare pepes. It's the only stable, that and the American dollar, which has apparently been made illegal. Last I heard. I need to confirm that one, but last I heard that you're not supposed to trade in anything other than Bolivadars. But apparently they don't understand Bitcoins enough to outlaw it.
Yeah. I want to see a meme though with when it deals with, like communist inflation, when it's just like communist or inflation doesn't affect communists because anything times zero is still zero, like something like that, because pretty much their money is worthless. Pardon my poor joke, but yeah.
My thing is, what I don't get is, why hasn't it gone into just flat out revolt at this point?
Probably the same reason as North Korea. Similar, maybe.
You think the people are that broken down?
I think that broken down, I feel helpless. I mean, you look at, too, a lot of places, this is just anecdotal, but from like I know, being from California, so I think, or even anywhere in California, you learn to meet a lot of people who are immigrants legally and not, and they talk about how Mexico is, and how a lot of people just live in fear from the cartels, so they don't think they can do anything, and they think their only option is either to stay and just deal with it or run. And I think that eventually you reach a point where that's all the citizens will do, and they just accept that. And
I think Randy Raccoon has an excellent point that they are disarmed. So they don't have the weapons to fight, but
as an American, I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's why us in the UK will be fucking screwed if anything really bad happens.
Yeah, I want to wrap this topic up with Maduro. Hopefully the world will respectfully extend its arms towards our country, for we have stoically withstood the terrorist criminal violence. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, apparently a bunch of pro-government paramilitaries shot up a church, murdering a 61-year-old nurse. But hey, we've stoically withstood this terrorist criminal violence. Oh my God.
By redefining terrorism?
Yeah, I think what we're going to see here is the smart people have already left. The somewhat smart people have either left or in the process of going right now. And they don't really have any leaders left because anybody who could have gotten out of Dodge got out of Dodge. The people who are left are either starving or have nothing left. And the only real hump for this country is if the armed forces gets its act together. They decide that Maduro is the way to go, it won't matter. I mean, I've seen the police officers, they are woefully outnumbered. But if the actual armed forces gets involved, then yeah, you're going to see mass shootings, and I don't think it's going to matter. Because unfortunately, what needs to happen is America can't fix this. We can't. If we go in to fix this, it's not going to work because they won't trust us. It has to be their neighbors. And even though Mexico and Colombia and Panama are all going, hey, that's bad, they're not doing anything. So it doesn't matter. I don't know. It's just sad. And my dream is that there are the man who stole a helicopter and tossed some hand grenades down on the Supreme Court down in Venezuela will rise up to become next El Presidente, because he certainly has the chops for it.
Oh yeah. So it's what we need. We need more. We need more leaders with cojones.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is. Is that if you just have somebody who stands up and shouts, "Hey, this is wrong," and he doesn't get killed, that may be all they need. You know, just someone to rally behind, someone to believe in. Like that's what the stock market needed here, someone to believe in.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, Venezuela just needs presidente con huevos. Yeah, or cojones, however you want to say it.
Ah, well, we've been chatting for about an hour now. Any topics in the list you guys wanted to cover?
Oh, I did want to ask one question. Do you think that the trans ban includes those who identify as attack helicopters?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second there. The what? Oh,
Do
the
you think
tranny
that-
ban. Oh, the tranny ban.
Do you think that it applies to those who identify as attack helicopters?
Because by definition, they need attack helicopters in the armed forces.
Exactly.
So would they be banning their own? No, I think that would be the exception. That would be the exception.
Okay.
Because
As long as it's a military purpose.
so as long as I identify as an attack helicopter, they'll let me in.
Well, I mean, I identify as an Abrams, but
Ah, well. I think everything I got left is
Do you mean a Puma?
a what?
Oh, sorry. I was responding to a chat. I was responding to a guy in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, you mean Puma? Oh, right. Red versus blue. Got it.
Sorry. I'm a gamer. Sorry.
Oh, I loved red versus blue. That was a good one. Anyway, shall we cut it here, or do you want to get into the more depressing topics? Because it goes downhill from here.
I'm easy either way.
I can handle a little bit of depression, but if you feel we've been going, I can do either or.
No, I'm good. I just after last week's downbeat, I figured maybe we should try it. But no, there's a couple of things here I think need to be addressed. The Congo. I think this is another problem that's being kicked along and has been ignored for quite a while. And, well, basically, there are no good guys. There are no bad guys. It's just a rolling mess. And it's quickly moving towards, it appears to be, actual full-on ethnic cleansing. You know, we have reports of, you know, people being burned alive and just entire villages just being slaughtered because where they are. And you'd think they would have run out of bullets by now. But as it turns out, nope. Apparently there is no limit to the bullets that cannot get into the Congo. And the place has basically been in a non-stop rolling brawl as far as I'm concerned for quite a while now. I don't think they're quite as bad as Somalia, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think Congo has... I've never known it to have a time of actual peace.
But here's
It's
something
always
I'd
been-
like to point out. Right now, down in South Africa, they're on the verge of doing an ethnic cleansing of everybody who's white down there. I mean, the freaking president sings songs about machine gunning white people on their Senate floor. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Seriously. So, but I want to point out to those idiots, please look to Somalia, please look to the Congo, please look to Zimbabwe, where they decided we're going to seize the land and redistribute it fairly, like good little Marxists. Look at those shitholes of a country that people fled to come to South Africa. Because if you're looking at South Africa, it is a country of immigrants. There was nobody down there. The white people moved in. There were a couple of locals. The white people made a nation, and then all the black people said, hey, wow, that nation looks great, and moved in. All right, there are very few natives to South Africa. They're all immigrants. But that little fact escapes most people. But the fact of the matter is we went in there. We basically forced them to do regime change. They, oh, great, now it's run by the blacks. It'll be all great. And they turned their country into a shithole.
Yeah.
It is, I would put it about 10 years behind Venezuela. In another decade, it will be as bad as Venezuela is now. And in 10 years, Venezuela is probably going to be burning. So, but the fact of the matter is if you seize the land, guess what? Your farmers are either going to pick up guns and fight back, which point you're going to have to kill them, or they're going to flee the country. Either way, you won't have any farmers left. And if you think it's easy farming, you're insane. And you're going to run out of food and people are going to starve. That's what's going to happen.
That's communism 101.
Yeah, I don't understand how this gets past people, because this is really easy to explain. If you take away the food, everybody dies. And then they go, but I'm oppressed. They took stuff from me. No. No, you never had anything to begin with. That's the problem. Unfortunately, here's the bottom line. A lot of income disparity is truly based on how smart you are. If you're a smart person, you usually find money. Even if you're a dumb person, you don't. You know, it's very rarely based on, and the whole thing, well, some races are smarter than others things. I've seen some very good studies where they said, you know, when we track where people fled from an area, where we do actual, well, like for example, is in America, we let intelligent, you know, doctors and whatnot come to our country. Well, those are usually the most intelligent people. So if we take all your doctors from the Congo, what do you think your mean income is going to do? Mm-hmm. It has nothing. I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but immigration, American policy, yeah, we have been causing a lot of problems because we've been taking away smart people from other countries. We should just stop and say, look, we'd love to strip mine you of your resources, but that's criminal. Have your smart people back and fix your own damn country. But we don't do that.
Yeah, a few months ago, even V did a video on that when he just started a job somewhere. I think he'd just got some sort of qualifications. I can't remember what he's studying now. I know it's something to do with medicine. And over there, he gets paid around the equivalent of about £600 a month. And he says, if I go over to the UK or Germany or France, I could earn triple that at least.
And then you'd be in Germany.
Yeah.
That would be the downside.
Yeah. You could also go to the UK or preferably, I think the only decent country left in Europe that's got a good economy is Norway.
Oh, you wouldn't say Poland?
Well, it's better for some things, but it's not exactly got a really strong economy.
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess their economy isn't strong. They've got a lot of national spirit, but they're not.
If things go the way they are, then Poland might end up being a superpower.
Yeah, actually, I've been looking at that, and assuming that Germany doesn't flat out invade them because they didn't take enough refugees, they took 1.4 million.
Have you heard the latest?
Oh no, I missed this.
Have you heard about because the EU are wanting to fine Poland for not taking in refugees? They've turned around and said, right, okay, then we want reparations from Germany.
Oh snap! Snap! Oh, snap! Oh, thank you. I was wondering when they were going to play that card. Oh. Did you forget when you invaded our country and rounded up our Jews and murdered them? Did you forget these parts? We would like to remind you, if you're going to get on our case, we'd like you to pay for, I don't know, raping our country. That might be nice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's
awesome. Amazing.
That is beautiful, and power to him. You know, warms my heart, and I'm sure my grandfather is feeling better as we speak.
Oh.
But since you brought him up, let's go into something depressing here. Austria, court convicts man who questioned the gassing of Jews. Yeah, that's right. He just said, I think it was a story that was made up. And now he has been sentenced to a 12-month suspended prison term.
I don't understand how this is even a crime.
It's how you keep people in line. You say supporting Nazis is bad, so anybody who supports Nazis is bad, and so we punish them. When you punish any speech, you have a chilling effect on all speech because everybody. Have you ever noticed how I talk weird? Where I use the strangest words and I sound like Thothorus Babaki. I am censored at my job at work. I work for New York State, and there are a list of banned words. One of these words is out. I am no longer use the word out at work.
Oh, yeah, you told me before, yeah.
When you start doing that and you start trying to make sure you're not saying certain words, and so you start doing all sorts of substitutions, it takes over your mind. Seriously, I've had people, Bob, why do you keep talking so funny? And for a while there, I didn't know because I didn't notice it, but I'm like, wow, I'm talking like this all the time. I'm constantly using alternate words for things just because I need to not use any common words in the human language to make sure that I haven't said something that'll get me banned and kicked out of work and cost me my job. Because they have had it end for me. I've fortunately moved away from those people, but when I was working in certain locations, I would ask questions, which is not appropriate. You should never question your boss. But I did, because I said, hey, that's wrong. That's a good way to get fired. But they can't fire me, because, you know, we do have the union. But they need an excuse to fire me. So for a while there, I got written up on using a banned word, which, by the way, I can't get a list of the banned words. It is impossible to actually get a full list of everything that's banned.
Because they know that if it's a written thing, it just wouldn't be acceptable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't get a copy of it.
I'm
I'm allowed to come in and read it, but I'm not allowed to copy it. That's where I work for the state, for New York State. And if I don't like it, I can get fired. All right. Is it a suppression of free speech? No, you're free to say whatever you say, not at work. But on the job, you can't use out. It's not a time out, it's a time away. Well, that's the same thing.
It's not outside, it's exterior.
Yeah, when you start messing with people's heads and they have to censor their thoughts and do these mental gymnastics, it inhibits you from saying other things too. I've just been doing it for so long I don't even think about it. I just babble. But I can see how somebody who doesn't read the dictionary for fun might have problems like coming up with words other than, you know, to express themselves. And this guy, all he did was post on Facebook. So in my opinion, once it goes on the internet, it's no longer in your country. Because I think the internet is a different country. Okay? But that's just me. I don't know.
It's becoming that way.
I believe Germany is also getting a license for getting on the internet and broadcasting. Somebody on Twitch got fined.
Yeah, they're wanting to bring in that law about live streaming on Twitch and things, saying that it's technically a radio station or a broadcast.
I thought that licensing had to deal more with advertising, though. Or am I wrong? Or is that America?
I'm not entirely sure. I didn't look it up too much, but just the fact that they were, well, it's kind of like a broadcast license for, you know, if you want to have your own radio station, you need a license. And if you want to get on a ham radio, you need a license.
Yeah, that's also per equipment.
Yeah, but it's to create a gateway to control the flow of people. Well, the internet has no gateway, and they really want to put a gateway on it. I have a theory. I thought that originally the internet was put out there by the left, and they pushed it because they thought this will make the world homogenous, and we will all come together, and there will be one culture. And they didn't realize that what it actually did was separate people. The internet allows people who have different thoughts and ideas to make their own groups and to come together as actual true independent cultures. And they don't like that now that they've created their monster. And they would really like to get rid of the internet, I think. But I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it might have been leftist in an idea sort of way, but I don't think they were thinking of it as a leftist thing. But yeah, definitely a sort of bring the whole world together.
I don't care if they were doing it for globalist reasons or ideological reasons or anything like that. They did it. And the end result, I think, has been an increase in ideas. And when you increase ideas, you get different subcultures. That's the inevitable chain of events for all memes. You go from low order memes up to high order memes, up to full-blown cultures and societies and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they thought they were going to kill ideas with the internet, and instead it creates ideas. And how did they not see this coming? I mean, it's obvious. Something that makes more ideas will make more cultures. But they keep framing it as the internet divides people. People find people that think like them, and then they move into echo chambers, and they... No, not entirely. Some people move into echo chambers, but other people just hang out in the echo chamber for a little while and then say, thanks, I really needed to go hang out with some people who thought like me for a while. Now I'm going to go talk to some other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a consequence of freedom, but they keep harping the negative. But I think it's too late. I think it's, as long as we can keep them from like not manually hitting the kill switch and shutting down the internet, I don't think there's any way to really stop. You can soft censor all you want, but it won't matter, because as long as there is a market for free ideas, the internet will find a way to get around these soft censorships. You should see China. My God, they've got the great, Chinese firewall, and so many people have figured out a way around that sucker.
But they've even banned VPNs from the Apple Store now in China.
Well, yeah, they just have to keep working harder and harder to cracking down, but the internet will find a way. I mean, look at Cuba. Cuba, for a long time there, everybody had computers, but there was no internet. So they had people who had massive amounts of tera hard drives who you would put in requests. They would get the information off the real internet, and then like a pack mule, they would go from house to house, letting you download whatever you wanted. Like,
wow.
Like, that is dedication to getting the information out there. It'll happen. It'll happen. You can censor as much as you want. The more you try to censor, the more you tighten your grip, the more systems will slip through your fingers.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
At any rate, any other topics? Oh, you got thoughts? Please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I love that, there's like a black market information there. But, well, yeah, the internet's essentially, it's anarcho-capitalism for information.
Oh, yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It needs to stay that way as much as possible, because the longer it survives, the more the idea will bleed over to the real world. Because I used to be along the lines of, there has to be some level of socialism. There has to be some level of looking out for the small guy. I used to think that, but I came to realize finally after a long period of time that no, privatized socialism can work just fine. The problem with socialism isn't socialism. I used to think that the problem with socialism was socialism. It's not. Socialism in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's socialism that comes from the barrel of a gun. It's socialism you don't have a choice about, which is all government-run socialism. Yeah. That is the problem. If it's voluntary socialism, go for it. As long as
the hippie communes, things like that.
Yeah, those actually work, but because they have very small groups. The problem is these commies go, wow, 50 us got together. We all have the same ideology. We have the same culture. This works so well. Let's scale it up to 50 million people. No, that's a dumb idea, dude. You've been smoking too much. It works because everybody shares the same culture, is willing to make the same sacrifices, and they still know each other, so they can see each other as humans. The minute you scale it up to 50,000 people, you're going to have somebody with different ideologies. You're going to have somebody who says, I can scam the system, and the system cannot survive scammers. Socialism does not work without empathy. So socialism really can't work over 300 people. But under 300 people, it can work just fine and probably works well. At any rate, enough of a bit of a rant there. I think we tackled the main topics here. Any other questions or things past week that needs to be brought up?
Nothing from me.
Well, we brought up Poland. I kind of wanted to bring up the whole the fact that Poland had that gay pride parade, and it was pushed as like the conservatives were pushing it. I'm like, that's good to hear. Like, I think I'm really proud of Poland, to be honest, now after this discussion.
Poland used to have some problems, but they've really turned it around, especially since they found their spine again. Because Poland, you got to understand, they had got their asses kicked all over Eastern Europe for 2,000 years because they couldn't come up with the concept of borders. And then when they finally got their act together, what did they have? They had a bunch of guys with big plumed hats going around on horseback with sabers, and then the German army shows up with their tanks, and they're just watching the planes go overhead and just going, we're screwed. But you got to understand, they literally did what was it? You remember that movie 300?
Yeah.
they pulled that with 800 guys. They held off like the Germans for 3 days in a narrow pass to buy everybody else time. Didn't help much, but they did. I mean, when Poland puts their mind to it, they're pretty crazy sons of bitches. These guys sell over-the-counter hand grenades because citizens there volunteer to patrol the border between them and, other countries just to make sure no Russians are sneaking in. So I have a feeling that as long as Poland holds their own and is willing to just put nationalism before globalism, they're going to do just fine. In fact, as you said, I think they're putting themselves well positioned to be a superpower for the EU because the rest of the EU is kind of crapping the bed. And Poland seems to be finally discovering, you know what? We might have some muscles here we haven't flexed in a long time. Anyway. Well, I'm half Polish, by the way, Randy. So I trot that one out whenever I got to argue with an SJW who says, you don't know what it means to be oppressed. Third of my family was killed by the Germans. Another third of my family was killed by, the Russians. So please, how many of your immediate family have been murdered? That usually derails the conversation entirely because they don't know how to respond to it, but it's a good way to end the conversation. Polish Foreign Legion. That would be cool. I don't think they do that, though. At any rate, we're pushing midnight. We started around, 10:15, 10:20, so we're at the 90-minute mark. This sounds like a good place to wrap up for everybody. Al, it's been real and it's been fun. Do you guys have any last-minute comments?
No. Not from me.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure.
Do they have a Polish Foreign Legion?
They do? Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm just asking if they do.
I don't think so. I think
Randy
only the French
Raccoon's
are the ones
asking
who did that.
in the chat.
I think only the French do the Foreign Legion. But...
Let me look up something quick.
Oh, let's check it out. We're going to watch my crappy streams. No, they're not that crappy, Randy. They're actually pretty good. Polish Foreign Union. Well, hold on a sec. Let's check that. Finding anything?
No, I don't think so. I guess they used to work with the French Foreign Legion. There were some Polish military units, but it doesn't look like there are any foreign ones.
Well,
not modern.
The world must know. At any rate, it's been real, and it's been fun. I'm not sure if it's been real fun. You have been listening to Unthorf Neverborn, the abyss that slumbers, and this has been Eldritch Rants. Thank you for your time and joining us, and I hope you have a pleasant day.
Lights is all.
Good night.